Speaking of service humor, we have arrived at that special time in our service where I am going to say something Jewish to all of you in the form of a drasha on Parshat Vayishlach. Parshat Vayishlach. And I have some helpers who may have some accoutrement, some additions for me to fold into this week's proceedings, bring forward whatever bizarro stuff I have to use in saying something Jewish. Can't wait to see. First up is Avatar Soka vinyl figure. Sokka, thank you.
Next is, go ahead.
A Shrek mask. Look at that. All right, we have these two. We have, is this a letter opener? A sword?
Yeah.
And finally,
It'll be whatever it needs to be. And a penny. 1988. I was 3. All right. And it actually kind of looks like, I'll show anybody who wants to after this, it looks like Abraham Lincoln is wearing a shtreimel on this penny. But this week, we have a really remarkable parsha. We get the name of Israel. Israel. The country. Bnei Yisrael, the people. The place, the set of kingdoms in the north. Israel as one of those pieces that has been linked to Jewish identity so deeply through the generations and the millennia. And it comes, in point of fact, from a wrestling match. It's an interesting moment, actually. Jacob, see under Jacob, is on the run from Esau, not pictured. Jacob is fleeing Esau for having ripped off his birthright, the blessing, all of these things, and Esau is pretty angry with him. So here's Jacob, and Jacob is going along his way. And Jacob gets far enough that it's time to rest for the evening. So Jacob decides to rest Jacob's head and sleep for the evening. Now, in the middle of the night, a person with a sword startles Jacob, and they have a terrible battle that lasts all through the night. And in the course of this terrible battle with the sword and all of the stuff, Jacob is grievously injured. But we get to the morning, and it turns out the person who had attacked Jacob, assailed him in the middle of the night, was not actually a person, but an angel.
Oh my gosh, it's an angel.
Oh my gosh, it's an angel. Thank you, Jacob. The angel says, dawn is coming up. You have to let me go. We fought to a draw. And Jacob says, no, not without a blessing. The angel did not, in fact, offer him money as a blessing in the form of a penny, American currency, but rather, the angel said, all right, here's your blessing. You get a new name. Yisrael. The one who wrestles with God. And from henceforth, Jacob is known, and the people of Jacob are known as Israel, a nation of God wrestlers, a nation of those living with a kind of holiness in relationship with God that's not always easy, that's often challenged. There is an internal idea, though, that I just want to touch on very briefly in this, that came to me this year in particular. In the course of this fighting, they don't come to a draw, and the angel just says, here's your blessing. There's actually a question first. Does anybody know what the angel asks? David.
I thought that Yaakov asked his name, so I thought that's where you were going.
He asked his name. What is your name? What's your name? There's an idea that we've carried through a lot of this, A lot of Torah portions. I'm not the first rabbi to suggest this, that we can actually be blessed by adversity, by difficult, by challenge, by opposition in our lives. Hence, we have this whole idea of being blessed with the name of Israel, of being God wrestlers. But there is a second part to that. He's first asked his name. The idea that in order to receive blessing, one must first know oneself. Thought this was a fascinating little inversion on it. That you can be challenged, you can have all kinds of hardship and difficulty and misery and such in the world, but to be able to transform adversity and struggle and misery into any kind of form of blessing, it takes a sense of knowing who you are. And I don't mean that just what your name is, but who you are. Yaakov. Who was he? Where does that name Jacob come from? Anybody? What does Jacob mean? What does the Torah tells us Jacob means? Heel. The heel, like the heel of your foot. And he has lived his existence at Esav's heel. Grasping, clutching, the second-born trying to take what he can from Esav that may not be his. It's this moment that transforms him into Israel and actually transforms that behavior from one which is self-interested, self-ish, interested only basically in what he can get from other people through subterfuge, into being this patriarchal figure of the Israelite nation, that he's able to care for other people and think of other people. It's only through knowing who he is going into the wrestling match and coming out of it that he is able to receive this blessing of being Yisrael, of taking a wider view than himself, being known as Israel, not just the one who wrestles with God, but the father of the Israelite nation. It's not just about adversity, but it's about a sense of knowing oneself and one's journey in the world that allows us to transform some of the bad things into blessings. Thank you, Kitah Hey, for all of the great stuff that you offered in helping me to tell this story. I'm going to turn it over to more Rebecca here. Here's the sword, here's Jacob, here's the angel, here's his bribery. And we're going to continue with Chatzi Kaddish on page 155. Page 155.